and welcome back. Today we're going to be playing the Is It Spelementals because for whatever reason Eddie Merc Crab happens to be an elemental crab. This is a card that we know very well. If you played Standard for a little while when Hottie Gen was legal, this stupid crab is good, but it's so bad and I love it. And it's just that uncommon kind of bomb that is a very dominant force. When it is good and when it's bad, it's horrible. But with that said, the fact that this is an elemental means it works incredibly well with our Thunderflock, a elemental that has been taking over Standard, especially in the Grixis deck I played yesterday, and obviously other type of elemental decks where you play the Is It version that is playing all the Ashlings, stuff like that. But Thunderflock is a sweet card. When you cast it, when it enters, if all elemental creatures stay and all non-elemental creatures get bounced to the owner's hand, which every card in our deck is an elemental, including Hearth Elemental, another random card that is either playable or not. But this costs X less, where X is the number of cards in our graveyard that are instants and sorceries. Same with Eddie Merc Crab, of course. So the rest of our deck, fortunately enough, is instants and sorceries. Very cool. So one quick kind of tip I'm going to give, not even tip, but the crafting guide. I do this typically in the outro, but I want to show it here because it is one of the big highlights of the deck. Everything here to the left is a common or uncommon, and everything here is the 10 total rares it costs to build a deck outside of the mana base, which is obviously another type of cost, and there's only 3 rares in the sideboard along with 1 mythic. So other than your mana base, you are looking at 13 rares and 1 mythic, which is a very affordable deck, and for a deck that top 8'd the Pro Tour, means it's probably pretty good. So with that said, we're going to dive into best of 1 and see how well we could do with it. Well, a weird hand, right? Because we don't have the blue available. This is blue or red, so we have Burst Lightning into Abandon. Oh, sure. Just so awkward when you have to fill your deck up with spells. So here, I guess I could just go blue on this. We want to pay 2 life, because I'm pretty sure we want to be relatively aggressive with our spell casting, and if our opponent's going to not do much, then we want to do it, right? I'll buy that for now. Oh. Hopefully 2 of them are good. I don't think I'd ever pick up a second one. A wagon. Okay. Sure. Probably end up getting rid of a spell pierce or a spell snare here then. Got a Merc Crab, I guess. Pass it up for now. Yeah, that's what I kind of figured this was. That's 3 mana. I mean, everything about her hand does nothing. You're an elemental crab. That's kind of hilarious, to be honest with you. So, realistically, we just have to stop the nonsense from happening. I don't know how we do that, but we try our best, I guess. This artifact enters exile top 2 cards. That's fine, I guess. It's crabbing time. Sure. And now I weirdly have the ability to burst lightning everything I want. Because I can kick it here. Sure. Huh? Uh-huh. Exile spells, and they'll cost less. Not a lot I can do about it. Sure. Yeah. Spell snare just happened to be bad. Sure. I mean, how many more of these do I really want to draw? Okay. This is kind of what we need. We can go to combat attack for 5. The problem is we need to somehow survive one more turn. I weirdly have 2-ish counter spells. Okay. So we can tap this down for 2. Sleight of hand is look at 2 for 1. It's only taps on our turn, so we can do this for 1 mana as well. Go sleight of hand here. You know, this might not be the most efficient. I mean, I guess it replaced itself, right? Tap here. You can crew those up, but they don't have reach. Combat. With 1 mana and a spell snare, let's upstairs. Holy cow. I don't know. We got that one. Okie dokie. That is a game and a half. Okay. Very cool. Our burst lightning happened to work out. And then we found another one, thankfully. Let's go. All right. The opponent is first. We do have Dispel Pierce. We have Detect Intrusion, which may or may not be good. I'm not really sure. But we'll try to keep this together with the duct tape and glue we're given. Always do stuff on blue-white controls in step. A lot of interaction for our Eddie Merc Crab and things like that. Looks like maybe Jeskai control. Slam the opt. I think I'll pass on the Sunderflock for now. Oh, please do. Deal. Deal indeed. I have lands. I will gladly have you put your counterspell out there. That's never resolving in our area. Alright. Alright. Not gonna really be able to play around anything anyway, so let's just play this tapped. We do have to worry about Jeskai a little bit because obviously Jeskai Revelation is a good card. Imagine if we countered that ability. This is also as this resolves, by the way. So if they interact with it, they have to interact with it now. Spell Snare. Sure. Here. How many counter spells will you have? No more. So discard 2 cards because we can't hit anything other than lands, it seems. It could have a flanker, which will be a problem later. Yeah, obviously I'd love to have a counter for that. This is most likely grabbing a land and another card that can help them get to stuff. Chico may be a card as well. At some point have to obviously find a threat. I would assume a land coming down here. Mistride's Village. Make a thing uncounterable, which is pretty awful overall to deal with. Jam this. Fortunately, get rid of that. I think we're already in this for the long haul. Draw a card. Then you may discard a card. Okay. Go for the interaction. They could have just made this uncounterable, but chose not to, which obviously we'll take. They missed on land drop. Now, unfortunately, we're in the weird spot. Don't quite have a spell. A fine land. Just go over there. In my ops. Sure. I think it's worth jamming here. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't think it's actually worth. Alright. This will help make it worth a bit. Sure. That would help as well. But we're just going to pass here, I think. Maybe I can just jam this guy, though. Try to remove it. We can always bounce off. Sure. That's a stock up. Spell Snare, unfortunately, cannot target that. This is just going to have to happen. They're going to look to find a land and maybe a piece of interaction. Spell Snare not able to hit, like, a board wipe or anything like that. We could have done Winter Stories, I suppose. Already kind of fumbling the old spell cast here. This is a 2-turn clock, though, if they can't answer either piece. I bet. Okay. Glacial. Discard a card, decline. Burst Lightning's also a card that can help us close this game. Sure. Not really bother us at all. Now this is where Revelation can come in, but this is most likely a board wipe if I had to guess. This will just end the turn, unfortunately, so... Yep. Here. No. 1 mana. Got to decline that and do this and this, I think. Because we just need threats over time. Although Sunderflock feels like I should play it now. It feels that way. But I'm going to go for another story. And now I'll get rid of the Thunderflock. Creatures with flash are much better. Spell Snare, a weird one. Haven't played against Jeskai Control in a very long time. At least in terms of playing in best of one. Just because it's kind of had this weird... I don't even know how to describe it. It's just had this weird style of play where a lot of players are not necessarily drawn to it all too well. And then your games also take a while. So I haven't seen it too much. It's kind of funny that I've run into it now. Our opponent could have Graveyard Hate. Obviously, if something like a Rest in Peace goes on the stack, we probably have to hit it with our Spell Snare because our grabs are so expensive. We also don't have many targets for this, right? So, like... get to our turn. No way, right? They consult here. No kicker either. Maybe looking for other Rest in Peace or something. Maybe their hand's just dead. Well, I know I want to go into my turn with the most mana as possible, regardless of what happens. So I would like to do this. Then I would like to pass. Yeah, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. No, they're not technically dead here, so we go for this. Sure. Little part of me feels like jamming this other crabs into play. But we can maybe just... yeah, we just hold. Because the get lost gets us here, right? We just force them to have more. The crab man. Go to combat. Revelation won't do enough damage. It could bounce. But the problem is we flash it back in, right? So the life gain would be the most important thing. I don't think Jeskai Revelation gets them out of this. Unless I'm misremembering how much damage it does, but I believe it's 4. Turn 1 to hand. Yes. 4 damage face. Sure. So they're fully tapped out here. So we 100% have this, right? So... has flash. I better be able to do this. I was gonna say, Mr. Game, I have the opportunity to do stuff here. There, and then to get it done with. We close the game against Jeskai Control. Although I do feel like overall that's going to be a favorable matchup. I think our Spell Pierce hitting their stock up really early on is what mattered the most, because it kind of staggered them a bit, and then they were missing land drops, and then they felt forced to get them, which gave us a lot of opportunities to make plays, and we just ended up running through. I mean, we beat 4 stock ups, 1 getting countered. I think maybe I countered the other one too, but overall that forced our counter spells, right? So we'll take it. On the draw once again. Hand's pretty good. We'll keep. Good is a little subjective here, of course, but white. Let's just cast Sleight of Hand here. Pick up the Burst Lightning. We'll most likely shock, have Opt and Burst Lightning available. Could be mono white tokens. Not really sure here. Could also pay for this fully. Sure, I guess. Let's opt, and then we'll probably end up bouncing that back to their hand. Sleight of Hand doesn't I don't mind sleight of hand here, but I'm just gonna let it go. Okay. Sleight of hand would have been better than that card, but we would have drew this card regardless. Kind of the whole point of digging deeper into the deck. Go here again, just so we have this, and then we have Burst Lightning as well. Here. Just want to make our crabs cheaper. And now with 3 Sunderflocks, I guess that we can do something. They play a land, no? It's crab time. Land, please. Burst Lightning, I guess, will suffice. Because now it's weird, because do I play the Sunderflock into a board wipe? I mean, I guess so, right? Because I can always detect intrusion for 1 mana here. I always forget that that's an option. And now we have a 2-turn clock instead of a much longer clock than that. Although 2 turns is a bit objective here, because obviously to cast this, I will have to pick up a thing. But at least I can flash this in, right? So my dude. I didn't pass a land, did I? No, okay. We're 15 cards deep on 3 lands, which is obviously not great. But this doesn't work. Because Eddie Merc Crab just taps the 2 tokens they make, and then we win. So weird. We missed the land drops, and we end up winning regardless. Running into like kind of all the weird control decks. Not weird, but like Jeskai control into mono white control seems a bit awkward for games 2 and 3, but sure. Okay, well, the sequence has been be on the draw, but now we're on the play. So let's see what we can do. I feel like this deck has to have a very good Badger Mole Cub matchup. I feel, because I feel like the Sunderflock coming in so cheaply whenever we flash in a Merc Crab, that it's just really hard for our opponent to interact with. But it looks like we're getting the test, right? Like, that is exactly what we want. We'll slam a Sleight of Hand. We'll grab a Burst Lightning, I suppose. And then I could just slow this down, but I'll wait for the Badger Mole Cub instead. Maybe this is wrong. General consensus is always pop the Landwehr Elf. But weirdly enough, Burst Lightning can hit a lot of good valuable targets between 1 and 2 drops. If they miss a land here and play Badger Mole Cub, then I'll feel a little bit more like an idiot, but I doubt it. My webcam's a little high. About that. Could be detect intrusion here, maybe. Sure. What do you got for me? Leyline Weaver. A better one for us to target anyway. That guy on taps and is very good. We do hit a land, thankfully. Let's slide a hand, see if we don't find 2 cards. We'll definitely take the Sunderflock here. And then we go land. And they seem kind of hesitant to do anything anyway, so we just hold here. I put a Glacial. Maybe I should have taken the Glacial instead of Sunderflock too. Let's see what we can find here. No. Okay. Sure. We can interact with them on their upkeep, so we should be fine. Yes. Opt. Okay. Bounce off, sure. Put a stop here. Move on through this turn. On your upkeep, I will play a crab. We'll target these 2. It is 4 mana, but it has to have instant speed to do anything, right? Could be a detect. But if they do that, I'll bounce the cub maybe, or I just let them take their entire turn and then I Sunderflock them. We really just need our crab to kind of stay around. The mana has been a bit of a problem. But with 2 green mana, what can they do? With 3 mana, maybe? Okay. Go grab Badger Mole Cup 2 or go grab Ouroboros. Badger Mole Cup 2. Okay. I like how I spawned in Badger Mole Cub, by the way. Like I spawned this match in. I said, I feel like we're pretty good against this specific deck. And the arena said, all right, dude, test it. Test your metal. Like, all right, man, bet. Like, I don't know. I feel like we're not even supposed to do anything. I feel like we're just supposed to let everything happen and then just to call them again, you know? But also, this just slows everything down if I just bounce this now, right? Already played a land? Sure. Sure. Oh, Pierce is interesting. So they can't rhythm me. They have 2 cubs. I weirdly think tapping their 2 mana is actually better than bouncing both of those. They block. The world may never know. Also, if they block here, right? Like, that just helps us out a ton. Using land drops again. We're at 17 here. End the turn. You can float mana in response if it's not the main phase. Yeah, I kind of assume so. But they can float mana in response if we wait till they cast a Badger Mole Cub. So this is a lot of more veteran players will know this, but in case you're not, if mana drains between these phases, right? So we're on their main phase, which is why I love Arena whenever I talk to new players, or you can even see it down here. So we're stop at upkeep / draw here. And then there's the actual main phase, and that's what these little card represents here. But these say before combat for some reason instead of main phase. So if we stop them here and do this, if they were to float the mana into their mana pool, it actually drains when moving from this step to this step. That's why we prioritize doing it here. Again, veteran players will know that, but it's just a random thing that maybe if you're not, like, there's just a tip and why we're doing it here. The only other problem is this leaves us vulnerable to like counter spells and stuff like that. But if they're tapping out for that, their turn's less explosive. And we also have the Spell Pierce for backup. So that's a pretty good play for us. And we win that game. Nice. I think we can keep. We're on the draw here. Just fine. At least it's felt fine so far. Okay. Are we Burst Lightning this or are we bounce offing it? I think. I don't know, actually. Just pass for now. We have 3 mana. Okay. Why I waited, I'll never know. This? Okay. Good to know. Good pick up here. Cast Sleight of Hand. Pick up another removal piece. And before they untap, let's pop this. Then we can maybe get the business. Obviously, if they play a ton of stuff out and we can Merc Crab into, obviously, our flyer, this would be great. That's going to be good. A land, this goes to 3. Plus a Earthbend, right? So, just all bad from there. All bad is a little subjective, I guess, but it's pretty bad. You discard a non-land card. Okay, so let's go here. I don't really have a way to answer the Chocobo any other way, and I'm just going to slide a hand. I'll grab an island. Fortunately, these do specify non-land cards, so they're not like the greatest. But Merc Crab can buy us a little bit of time. Fable Passage, sure. Hydra, Creature Forest, sure. Oh, and we are flooding like crazy. Okay. Oh my lord. Decline, I guess. How to do this. The game where I've been in this spot and only had 3 mana, now I'm in this spot with like a ton more mana, is kind of brutal. Sure. Nuts. Can I rip a Thunderflock? The world may never know. Be so good. We bounce everything back to hand. Get to kind of reset over and over again. Honestly, even a Winter's Story would probably be the best. This is 7 mana and an elemental, so the one creature is reduced by a lot. I'm only at 12. I feel like 2 cards in hand. It's either lethal or not, right? Go get a land instead of maybe making it fight next turn. Do they have a Bushwhack? Was this just like Bushwhack, get a land, Bushwhack, make it fight here? Badgermole Cub. So you chose to do Badgermole Cub after combat? Why would you not bring... Am I getting trolled? Thank you, Arena. That's pretty nice of you. After giving us a lot of lands here. They're tapped. We are looking to draw cards at this point because we have to. We'll have a blocker, and that's why we need to draw cards, because just because it gave us 1 card does not mean it's going to give us the rest. Then there's back to hand. Now, unfortunately, they do get the Badgermole Cub. They do get to like play the whole hand back out. That's why it's so important for me to draw. Why we're flooding so hard, but first, like you have to play the land, right? Or just play Ouroboros and wait, you know? It's fine. I feel like these plays are... Holy cow, bro. This game is awful to us right now. The Thunderflock, and the reason why is in case we... Okay. Why is it just getting so close every time? Yeah, I guess we do this. We have to hit him for 5. And the reason why I was saying it has to be the Thunderflock in case we find a bounce off, because we could pick our creature back up, replay it, is the idea. Our opponent can go for the exact same play, pretty much. It does require all their mana. I do have some blockers, but I do have to try to close the game somehow. They go for a second Badgermole Cub, which is interesting. That's 3 mana. And they played the land, which I don't know if I would have played. But it works out to play the Ouroboros, I guess. Eddie Merc Crab. It's a duo. Can I attack with 1 creature here? Kinda, because if they don't play a land, right, it grows everything by 2, so it's 4. I have a block. Then I could block. They're big enough. But I also have to like try to win the game, right? So 1. Obviously, if they play a land, I'm screwed regardless. I think it has flying. Here. That's to tap the biggest creatures. I guess we weren't in combat. It gave me priority, so I thought we moved to combat. Apparently we did not. We're still in the main phase. Gives them a chance to actually play a land here, because there's a stop before they declare attacker step and everything. Just unfortunately short here. 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 On the 3. And we get there. Very cool. What a weird game, but we'll take it. All right. So at the end here, I really only have one complaint, and that is for the spell snares. Also, I actually have another complaint. I have 20 lands in my deck, so I kind of forgot that it was 20 and not like 22 or 23 for some reason, because I've recently had my entire like brain reset on what mana bases people are doing, because the mono red deck is currently playing 24 lands because it's kind of a heavier deck. So it's just a really weird time to be like, oh, what mana base is it I want to play a lot of spells every turn play? 20. Less than mono red. It's kind of crazy. But the games where I was 15 cards deep on 3 lands now makes a little bit more sense. That last game where I had half the lands of my deck in my hand and still 40 cards left, maybe not so much, because that's 1 for 4 every card after that point. So, you know, it's 25% draw on lands. With that said, spell snare is the only issue, and this is a best of 1 issue / we're not in the Pro Tour, you and I watching this video. The Pro Tour is playing guaranteed. You are automatically probably going to play against 1, Badger Mole Cub, and 2, Izzet Lessons, right? So those are 2 automatic, at least 30 to 40% of the room, and some variation. Obviously, Badger Mole Cub gets played in a lot of different decks. It's not going to be the same one. But the Izzet Lesson deck, you're also going to have a lot of targets. And even against this deck, a little you have some targets, or any detect intrusion type decks. A lot of good creatures reside on 2. Things like Lightning Strike and things like that reside on 2 and mono red. So it just has a ton of value when it comes to that. But in best of 1, because you're not guaranteed to play against those decks, and I would argue Izzet Lessons is pretty unlikely to be played against multiple times in a row. Now that I say that, tomorrow when I record, that's all I'm going to play against. So I already submitted to that, which sucks. But because Izzet Lessons is like playing the game in a refrigerator or in mud, because the games just are so slow. Like, you end up timing like you're playing Control, but you're a really fast deck that can win quickly, sorta. It's just a really weird feeling, you know? It's like when you play an FPS and you get a bad server and it's just lagging the entire time you're trying to move, or like your PC may be overheating and like your application won't load or something like that. That's how it feels like playing Izzet Lessons, because all of the priority holds that your opponent is rightfully allowed to do, and then you yourself, whenever you have other cards with, like, you know, instant speed, or like 3 things of yours are triggering on a stack, and now you have to do them all. It's just, decision fatigue is crazy with that deck, so it's kind of hard for people to play it pretty consistently, so you're less likely to see it anyway. But Badger Mole Cub is real, and this is a card that does stop that technically. But I would argue that Sunderflock and the Crab are, well, really Sunderflock, are kind of a little bit better at doing it by putting everything back in their hand. Obviously, the best part about Badger Mole Cub is it's cheap, and it basically replaces itself if you have the mana to do so. So it's kind of a bit, you know, weird to evaluate that a bit. But Spell Pierce might be something we go up and just kind of swap these a little bit. Like drop this down, go up a Spell Pierce, and just be happy with that. Maybe drop it, go up another bounce spell, either a Flood Maul or a Bounce Off. Just because Spell Snare and Best of One, having a very narrow card like that is oftentimes tough. And for example, Detect Intrusion is kind of the same scenario where it's pretty narrow, but 2 copies is always nice. So when we know that we use it, that it's going to be very limited resource and we need to use it really, really well. So that's great. But with that, this deck is a lot better than what I thought it was going to be, even though it did well in the Pro Tour. Best of 1 and Best of 3 are a lot different because we've seen fads of Sunderflock, not from Sunderflock, but Eddie Merc Crab, right? Like where this card is a dominant force for a really long time and then it just disappears overnight because it's just too bad. But it did feel a lot more competitive here today, and with most of my games and me being on the draw, I do feel a lot more confident in it. And the best part about it, other than the lands, which is obviously, you know, quite a few rares. But if you play any blue-red spells, you're going to have these lands regardless, or you probably should. And most likely, if you're playing standard, Multiverse Passage is going to be a 4 of in your craft list at some point, and 6 basics, of course. Other than that, in your kind of main deck here, you only have 10 rares. Everything else is a common or uncommon, and none of these are even mythic. So for a 10 rare deck, this is a very solid choice. It kind of gives you that mono white feel. Obviously, the sideboard will be here as well, but I think other than a card... Oh, that guy's a rare. And the links, right? Yeah, so you have 3 more rares in the sideboard plus a mythic. So in total, you have 13 and 1, not counting your lands, which is not even that big of a upgrade in terms of how many rares are required to play this. So it's a very affordable deck to play, a very decent and good deck to play, and the craft guide is not that difficult. So that is very nice. So with that said, I hope you all enjoyed, and maybe you will give this deck a try, and it will have success with you. So with that said, I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.